Hi, and welcome back to Thone's Mount Nibbles number 23. Still talking about true righteousness, but we're now going on to a different verses, and we're going to be talking about the sacredness of marriage. Reading from Matthew chapter 5, verses 31 and 32. It hath been said, Whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, committed adultery. And so I guess the biggest easiest summary I can say of this is, marriage is binding, except, and there is one exception to that, and if that exception is the reason that a couple becomes individuals again, that is not adultery. Future relationships are not adulterous because the person obviously was in a marriage of which they thought was proper and forever, and then this fornication word comes up, and then suddenly they realize that they're not in a marriage that's proper. Now, that isn't their fault. So, leaving a marriage through divorce, and I say this to both genders, although the Bible specifically speaks about men being divorced because of fornication by your spouse, does not make you ineligible to ever be married again, and does not bring sin upon the person that you might marry. Okay. With that said, why is this in the Bible? God's view of marriage. This is what God thinks about marriage and communications. What are God's valid criteria for divorce? The application to my life. The rabbinic interpretations of divorce differs greatly from the scriptural understanding from the Old Testament and the statements of Jesus in the New Testament. Those rabbis focused on the fact that a divorce was allowed, and also on the finer points of the bill of divorcement. What is the format? How it's like a legal document. Thus, the main issue with them was the formality of the divorce rather than the grounds for the divorce. They permitted many frivolous grounds for divorce, including the current physical appearance of the woman, beauty, and the ability to perform typical women tasks like cooking or cleaning. In fact, the whole purpose of Moses allowing a bill of divorce had nothing to do with the person desiring the divorce, but rather the protection of the accused spouse. Note, the entire concept of divorce is based upon the eventual remarriage of the wronged spouse, without any accusations against them or their new spouse. In other words, there should be no charge of adultery against the new couple. And that's important, and it's important to many people. God says the adultery of a spouse is the only valid reason for divorce. And none of those other grounds have any, stated grounds have any real say about it. I mean, you can't divorce your spouse because they painted their toenails purple, or there's lots of frivolous kinds of divorces which were at one time or another issued, and this is not what divorce is about. It's about a way for a spouse to escape a non-scriptural fornicator as a spouse. And that is the only way God ever intended this to be. And that's said in the Old Testament. I mean, Moses was very clear about that. The Pharisees and Sadducees and scribes sort of strayed away from that, and the rabbis. But then Jesus comes, and in these particular two verses, straightens that out. It's not right. The adultery of a spouse is the only valid reason for divorce. My personal response: Lord, thank you for protecting the innocent in these unfortunate situations. Understand that many of our churches have gone a little bit to a lot astray by arguing this particular point. And, we just have to be careful about that. That yes, there was a bill of divorcement allowed by Moses to protect the innocent spouse and put them in a position where they can, after that divorce, remarry without either them or the new spouse having any retribution against them by the rabbis in the Old Testament or by the church in the New Testament times. So that about completes that, and we'll talk to you next time.